When I stepped off from quite an extensive and long career in the corporate arena, and I knew I was always going to go on and form my own consultancy, I really wanted it to stand for something. I just didn't want it to be another Me Too operator. And I'd always been interested in leadership, both leadership of oneself and leadership of other people, and also Eastern philosophy. And the role I had, the last role I had in the corporate arena, I was responsible for the Asia-Pacific region. So I did quite a bit of research in the ancient civilizations museums while I was up there. And I like Sanskrit and Indian philosophy. And I found a wonderful stone mandala in one of the museums. And it was an 8-pointed mandala. And that fitted very nicely with really what I wanted to stand for. As you know, the tagline for Executive Mandala is wisdom, integrity and strength. And when one looks at some of Eastern philosophy's points of dedication and development, they sit very nicely under those 3 categories. So I chose the symbol of the 8-point mandala for that very reason. On the website too, was very specific about the choice of colour and the particular colour of red, because it comes out of the wisdom piece and represents the wisdom of discernment. So being more discerning and discriminating about the way we choose to react and respond to things in our lives really, and particularly in a business context. I'm a psychotherapist by profession, and I've always worked, probably for the last 20 years, I've worked in the area of human change, and of course psychotherapy links very well. It's really the art of helping human beings to transform themselves. And I sort of started about 20 years ago working in the learning and development arena, and went off and got myself some university qualifications around that. And most recently, in the last 10 years, that sort of led me into the leadership development space. I have, earlier this year, and I'm about to take up a position, I've been appointed to the international faculty of the brand new School of Inspired Leadership in India. And it's brand new, with the inaugural campus being built in New Delhi. And as the name suggests, very, very different leadership training and education. So I'm very honoured, as I said, I'm part of a very distinguished global faculty. Our mission really is, it's quite simple, it's to cultivate, to help leaders to cultivate those 3 strands of wisdom, integrity and strength. I guess that can lead into, when we're talking about strength, we're talking about a capacity to respond to life's events and the events of, managing an organisation. And some of the research I've done in recent times has unearthed there can be a tendency in some cases, and also in Australian culture it's an okay thing to do, that some of our leaders are perhaps engaging in what we call maladaptive coping mechanisms. So alcohol, legal painkillers and things like that. And whilst in and of themselves they're not a bad thing, if they're used to help us cope, they're used to excess, then it's not a good long-term thing. And of course, when you're working with people, this can inevitably come up. And the work I like to do is to help people to see that they can respond to life's difficulties in a far more effective way for themselves and their families and those around them. It really is what we stand for, is the difference. As I said, I didn't want to be just another Me Too operator, and because it's in the field of human change doesn't occur simply because we tell people they're doing something, or they need to do something, or they need to be a little bit different. It doesn't happen that way. So we look at it, let's say in the case of where someone needs to change their behaviour from, perhaps what they're doing is a little bit detrimental to their ultimate success. Then the work we do and the assessments that we use actually, which is quite unique in assessment methodology, go right to the source. So it's not just looking at the behaviour, but going right to the source of why people might be, for example, not exercising restraint at appropriate moments. And that applies whether you are asking person, to change and develop and increase, or to, get rid of a particular behaviour. People that we work with, the clients we work with, because we work in the area of leadership development, and that's sort of like either at a group level, facilitating group development and interaction, or mostly the work we do is in the leadership coaching space. And those leaders tend to be at sort of like senior level or next level down. And they tend to be developing. Some of them are developing into the roles they're all, that they want to move towards, like through a succession planning process. Others might be already appointed to a new role, and the sort of work we're doing is to help them assimilate into that new role. And leaders at a very, very high level in the organisation, they're very experienced people. It tends to be working at in a very strategic way, so getting them to think more strategically about the interconnectedness of everything, including the way they, their own operating system.